So all of us are on a journey searching for meaning, and it's found in truth, goodness, and beauty. But what does that look like as you're living things out? What does it look like to be on a path of spiritual awakening, of finding the true meaning of life? Let's talk about that today on Midweek at the Compass. Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Jake. Great to be here for round 3 of our conversation on the search for meaning. Joined once again by Gerald DeLauren, the adult ministry pastor, guru, discipleship guy, all these fun things at our Naperville campus of the Compass Church. Gerald, what's up, man?
Nothing much. I like all those terms you added to the
I feel like it's going to have to go on a business card.
Yeah, it's going to have to.
Yeah. Gerald DeLauren, adult ministry pastor, guru, discipleship guy.
All things awesome.
Hey.
Get on it.
All things awesome. So I'm just going to abbreviate it. Gerald DeLauren, ATA. And it's going to be on your business card. People are going to love it. It's going to catch on.
I think so. I hope so. Look at that.
So anyways, we're going to go ahead and start talking like you're here for and we're here for. So we've got this search for meaning. Meaning of life is found in truth, goodness, and beauty. Truth isn't a concept, it's a person. That person is Jesus. Goodness is found because it's been revealed to us by God. God is good. And beauty is just this welling up inside of us when we see things that are true and good, and it's a reflection of God's heart. That's a real quick summary of where we've been over the last 2 weeks. I've just summarized about 45 minutes down, but you're going to want to make sure to check out the first couple of episodes before we start diving into this conversation here today. And the conversation really is just, man, what does it look like to know that I'm searching out the meaning of life? What does it look like when you are being spiritually awakened, when you start to process these heady conversations of truth and goodness and beauty and meaning of life? Man, talk about making your head explode. That right there could do it. But I think we did a pretty good job of whittling it down into slightly manageable sections here, but let's just run with it. So the first life stage of somebody that's going through a spiritual awakening might not make a lot of sense, because a lot of times we think of it in our culture and construct as an end of life scenario. And that's death, being spiritually dead. So I wonder, let's talk about it. How come that is the first stage here of a life cycle?
Yeah, we're spiritually dead. The Bible uses a lot of these phrases that even though we're alive, walking around, internally we're spiritually dead. Spiritually, we're not awakened to the things of God. Now, we might recognize it. I mean, people all around us are looking for meaning. They're always looking for true for them. They're looking for the goodness in life. They're looking for beauty. They're traveling, but for some reason, it's all not connecting. And I can remember those times when I was spiritually dead. The term we used in church is like BC, before Christ. I was looking for truth and meaning and all that stuff. And I was experiencing a lot of different things, but pretty soon I wasn't finding the beauty in these things. And just like in Solomon, he was talking about all the things that he experienced, and it just wasn't meaning anything. It was just meaningless for him. And when you're spiritually dead, you can't enjoy the good things of God without God himself. And so when you're spiritually dead, you're just that. You're dead.
Yeah, like you might, I love the way you said that with Solomon. Like you might experience certain things, but the meaning behind them just is absent, to where it's just like, it was good, I guess. I don't really know. We'll just move on with our day. But I don't like harping on the same subject too much, but I do need to bring it back up. We had a discussion at one point in time about the story in the Bible called the prodigal son. And the reason I bring it back up is I love the way that it ends. His father runs out. The son has come back home after leaving. He welcomes him back with open arms. He has a discussion with this older brother. But the way he said it is, this son of mine who had left doesn't just say that he was lost and then was found. It does say that, but it also says it's more than that. He was dead, but is now alive. And when you're dead, there is nothing on your own that you can do about it. There's no alarm clock to wake you up. There is nothing within ourselves that can cure being dead. Being brought from death to life requires an outside force. A lot of times in the medical field, like it could be shock paddles or drugs, those kinds of things to try and kickstart your heart. Spiritually, we have something else. That something is Jesus. Jesus can bring us past that first stage, from death to life. That's the gospel. That's the good news, is we don't have to stay where we are. We can experience truth and beauty and goodness and the meaning behind all of them once we take step one.
Yeah, and that rebirth, if you will. I know it doesn't make sense, especially if you're new to the faith. Nicodemus asked, the religious leaders asked, how in the world can I go back into my mother's womb and come back out? And I think that's what spiritual life is like. You are being reborn into this new life, and now you're a spiritual infant. And so you're reborn, and now you're approaching your spiritual life just like you approached your physical life, a newborn. And so spiritually, newborns, they need a lot of attention. I'm a parent. You're a parent. No longer infants, but remember those times that we used to take care of our infants?
I mean, vaguely. I was so tired through all of it. Like I remember bits and pieces, but yeah. So I guess that leads us from step one. But before we get off of step one, I want to let you know, like, if you haven't put your faith in Jesus and you have questions, I want to give you full reign. You can reach out to me. I'm going to put Gerald on the spot. You can reach out to him. You can find our email addresses on our church website, thecompass.net. Man, we want to have those conversations with you because there's not a more important one to wrestle with. And if you've gotten to the point where you're going to decide to put your hope and your faith and your trust in the person and the work of Jesus, man, we want to celebrate that with you, give you some resources for what this journey is going to look like, because these other steps come out of it, and we want to set you up to succeed as best as we can. So again, full reign. Please let us know, or if you disagree with what we're saying, I'll field those questions. You can, again, find my contact information, but let's talk about it. Let's have some conversations about it. I would love to wrestle through it with you. So let's get past the death part. We were spiritually dead. We've put our faith now in Jesus. We are spiritually alive. And putting that in the life cycle stage, that means we are spiritual infants. What is that going to look like?
I think of my two children when they were born and they were infants. I remember being in the hospital, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, you're released to go home. And I take this little person, backseat of my car. We drive home, open the garage, and we're thinking to ourselves, wait, we have to take care of this little person.
Wasn't that a terrifying moment, by the way? Like the
Terrifying.
first time you realize you've left the hospital and you are on your own
On
for
our
this.
own.
Whew. There's somebody that requires you so they don't die.
Yeah, so they don't die. And that infant, we had to feed, we had to clean, we had to take care and make sure that child was okay. And spiritually speaking, that's how it is. Even though they might be adults, physically speaking, they're infants spiritually speaking. And so what I would recommend for those who are new to the faith, if you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I did place my trust in Jesus, and now I'm a spiritual infant, if you want to call it that, definitely what you need to do is understand truth. Consume a large amount of truth. That is the word. Get into studies, get into community, do all these things so you can understand truth more and more. So infants, just like physical infants, need milk and sustenance to grow. Spiritual infants need spiritual sustenance, which is the word of God.
Yeah, and just to dovetail on that, that's definitely point one. And you also brought up point two kind of quickly that I want to make sure that we talk about too. When you're a spiritual infant, you can't really take care of yourself as much as you're going to need to. You need somebody to come around you to help, to ultimately feed, to be able to bounce questions off of, to talk through, man, I just read this and it's like reading Greek. I have no idea what this says or means. That's the power of community. The way we phrase that here at the Compass Church is pursuing him daily. One of our priorities, that's going to be spending time in the Word, but also connecting in community, getting people around you who are going to build into and support. This is a race that you're not supposed to run on your own. So don't try to, because you don't have to. So there we go. Those are going to be your two key steps. Like, you need to digest truth found in the Word. You need the support system of others. But eventually, like all little nuggets, they grow and they become these toddlers, these young children. So from a spiritual end, right, if we are graduating, if we're growing from infancy, what's that next stage of spiritual life going to look like?
Yeah. This is a cool phase because now you're learning. Things are starting to connect. Not only are you learning truth, but you're observing goodness. You're seeing goodness displayed because you're recognizing these things. As a spiritual child, you know a lot, right? But here's the thing. You don't know it all. And like my children, they think they're super independent, not realizing, hey, it's mommy and daddy that's providing the roof over your head. It's mommy and daddy putting the food in the fridge. So as a spiritual child, all the things you've learned are from the community that you're in, from the Word that has fed you, and from the Holy Spirit who's been protecting you and guiding you. And so for your next steps, stay the course of community, because it is this point where all the things that you've learned, you need to continue to allow others to shape you. Allow older men and women to speak into your life, because they've experienced everything spiritually that you've been going through. And so now you need to learn from older Christians.
Yeah, there's something really important there. This is probably stage one where it's really easy to think, I know better than ... I know better than the Bible. I know better than my mentor. I know better than my pastor. And maybe in some ways you do, but there's something really prideful about that comes into play and display. But think about it. Like, I've got 7, 5, and 3 as of this recording. And they are definitely starting to push the boundaries of, I can do this. I know how to do this. I don't need you to explain this to me anymore. I got it. Dad, I got this. So just be cognizant, know yourself well enough to know, like, when you start to graduate from the infancy to just the young stage, there's going to be this natural tendency initially to start saying, no, I got this. In some ways that's healthy, right? In some ways it's great to take ownership. You at the end of the day are going to be responsible for your faith journey with the help of Christ. I don't want to downplay the work of the Holy Spirit, any of that. But when you stand before God on the day you die, that's morbid. But ultimately, like, you're going to be responsible for what you have done with what God has given you, not other people. So there is a point where you need to own. This starts when you're young in your faith, but ultimately don't neglect the people that have gone before you that know what's up. All right, so let's keep going. After we're a child, we enter those awkward teenage years. We go into college. We enter kind of this stage of young adult spanning, like, let's call it high school through first job if we're talking physical end. But spiritually, if you're on this pathway, you're looking at years 10 to 25 in your faith. Like, what's this going to look like for people?
Yeah. This is where the kind of a lot of these Christians kind of plateau. They've been through the youth groups. They've been through college ministry. They got married in the church. They're starting to have kids, and it's like they go through this like spiritual midlife crisis, if you will, if you were to use that term. And they've experienced it all. Kind of they know the truth of Jesus, but kind of the beauty and the excitement, it's kind of old. I've been going to church for like 15 years, 20 years. Is there more? They're not doing anything wrong. They're just hitting the spiritual kind of crisis, if you will, because they've experienced the gamut of things. And I think this is a sign that God is doing a great work in you. If you're listening to this, You're telling me, man, Gerald, I've been in the church for 15, 20 years. I've gone through youth group. I went to college. I got married at a church. My kids have been baptized and all that thing. They're in Awana. Those are all good things. You're doing all the right things, but you're just feeling something's off. It's not. This is God working in your heart. It's preparing you for the next phase.
Yeah, it's like there's seasons, right? Like I like to think of it in roller coaster terms. I haven't been on a roller coaster in decades. I'm a little concerned that the next time that I do that I'm just not going to handle it well. But like the life stage cycle, you're growing up the initial first incline. That's like infancy growing. And then you experience the joys of the first drop. And it's all exciting. Like you've got the anticipation for what's happening. And then you get to the point where like it's happened and it's great. But then it always feels like on a roller coaster, there's just this lull section before what comes next. You're not just going straight into a second huge drop most of the time. It's like a couple of twists and turns. And you're just like, what's next? Why do I feel like I was really excited for a while, but now I feel like maybe I'm in the doldrums a little bit where it's not new anymore. And because it's not new, it feels like something's wrong.
Yeah.
But you're saying that that's not the case.
No.
It's not wrong.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. And I think people feel like there's nothing wrong. The sad reality of our culture is we're going after one excitement high to another. But the spiritual life is much more deep. It's deeper than that because God is preparing you for the next phase, which is spiritual parenting. And these feelings, they're the right feelings. You just got to remember God is preparing you for the next phase.
All right, so let's dive right into that. Spiritual parenthood.
Yeah.
Tell me,
yeah,
what's going on here?
This is where a lot of Christians, I would say, don't reach this. And I think the reason why is just that if they've grown up in church especially, they go through the motions. They're not doing anything wrong necessarily. They're just like, man, there has to be something more. If you look at a lot of the Christians who are older and they've been in the faith a long time, you'll start to see a switch happen. They'll go from going from experience to experience to now, wait a second, my spiritual journey had nothing to do with me. It's about others. When you see Jesus's life, after teenagehood, it's like everything disappears. We don't know what exactly happens, but then he reappears on the scene at age 30. He was growing in young adulthood, spiritual young adulthood, and now he's starting his ministry to influence others. What defines spiritual parenting is this: you've experienced the gamut of spiritual life. Now it's time to invest in other. In one sense, you're a spiritual sage. The Bible calls you a shepherd, if you will, where you're now going to invest in the next generation. So spiritual parenting is much like physical parenting. It's not about you anymore. It's about those in your care.
That might be my favorite bombshell of this 3 weeks that we've done here is spiritual parents get to the point where they realize it's not about you. It's not about you. It never has been. You have to grow. There are times where you're being refined and it's all of those things are good, but it's not about you. You are not the end goal. The end goal is replication. And that gets to what we talked about a little bit, right? Like these spiritual parents are now the ones that are responsible for caring for the spiritual infants.
Yeah. When I first became a Christian, I wanted to do all the cool Christian things. I wanted to speak at all the Christian events. I wanted to be the center of attention. I did a lot of those things. And as I've gotten older, those things didn't really excite me anymore. God was shifting something in me. What gave me great joy is the people I invested in for hours and hours and hours and hours. And now some of those people are now pastors, missionaries, working at college universities as professors in Christian studies. These things are what gives me joy. The idea of truth in Jesus, the goodness that he has allowed me to live the life that I'm living now, and the beauty of what God has done through me. That is awesome. That is awesome.
That's so cool. So I don't know if I've ever talked with you about this, but I don't know if God's going to grant me this prayer and request, but I've been in the faith for 30-ish years at this point. I'm 36, accepted Jesus when I was about 5, grown up in the church. It's indoctrinated into who I am in a lot of ways, for good and for bad. But my prayer is that at the end of whenever God calls me home, that he's going to allow me to sit down and look back to see his faithfulness in just that. Like, who are the people that have been impacted, not necessarily gone into full-time ministry or decided to be a professor of theology at ... but who are the people that now love Jesus, that are investing in their children, that are pouring into their friends, to start to see this web of what it looks like with the faithfulness of one, because God is going to continue the church. We see that all throughout Scripture too. I just want to be able to look back one day and have God say, hey, you remember when you served in youth group when you were 23 years old? You talked with these guys. Here's where they are. And guess what's happened with them? And guess who they've talked to? And you remember when you were a guest service pastor? Well, these are the people that you were intentional with and poured into, and this is what's happening with all of them. Again, God doesn't owe me that by any stretch, but I really hope he shows it to me. There's something that's going to be really cool when that day comes. So there you go. That's kind of our path, right? You start out not as an infant. You start out dead. You are brought to life by the person and the work of Jesus Christ. And then you start to grow. You go through this infancy stage where you require help and assistance. Man, it is so important to sit together under the word of a preacher, to have people that are intentionally investing in you. Find them out. You have friends that would love to sit down and have coffee with you. And you're going to grow. And the more you grow, the more you're going to realize that I'm not an infant anymore. I can start to pick up this food by myself. And I can start to understand some of these concepts. And then you grow into this young adulthood where maybe you start to feel this lull and a lag that's dangerous, but ultimately awesome. Because if you keep growing past that point, you get to be the person that people turn to, because when they turn to you, they see a picture of God, because you are loving people and you are investing in them and pouring into them. Gerald, any final thoughts you want to leave with here after this, culmination of 3 weeks of discussion?
Yeah, I guess it might be also a shameless plug, if you will. It's kind of like we have resources here at the Compass Church. If you are a spiritual infant, you're going to self-decide that. If you're a spiritual child, if you're a spiritual young adult, and if you want to help transition to these new future stages, we're here to help you.
Totally. We're here to help. I hope that's the last big takeaway, is we would love the chance to help. We're all looking for meaning. We are all searching for it. And ultimately, we can find meaning because we can find truth and goodness and beauty. We can find them in the person of Jesus, in what God has revealed to us, and in the emotions that stirs out of us, that there is objective truth, objective goodness, objective beauty. And we can start to see how that plays out in everybody's life. You can see bits and pieces of where, even on that journey, people are searching truth. They're searching for goodness. They're searching for things that are beautiful and wonderful. Continue that journey. That's the last charge. Continue that journey. Don't give up the good fight. It's worth it in the end. Gerald, I've loved having a handful of weeks to just sit down and chat with you. This has been really good for me. Hopefully it's been wonderful for all of you as well. We're going to look forward to being back here at Midweek at the Compass, where we're going to start tackling more of these deep life questions, these kind of concepts about the faith of Christianity and whether it's things that we can fully buy off on and believe. So look forward to having some more of those conversations with you again here real soon.